How's it going, everyone? It's Andrew, or Straight Mario, or whatever you want to know me as, and today I'm going to be discussing the game that I'm looking forward to the most in all of 2019, Borderlands 3. We're less than a month away from the release date, September 13th, and I am seriously I can't wait. For those who are unaware, I'm a huge Borderlands fan and have been playing the series since the original Borderlands was released in 2009. I love the writing, the gameplay, the looter-shooter genre. Time for a loot explosion! The guns, and there are so many fun guns in this new game. And of course, all the characters, Tiny Tina, Mr. Torg, you know, the whole crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the wild child, the queen of obscene, that girl who'll make you hurl! Tiny Tina!
A staple of the Borderlands games are the playable characters. You know, the Sirens, the Operators, blah blah blah. The original game and the remaster of the game, which I've been playing on my channel, had 4 playable characters. The second game had 4 playable characters at launch, and then they added 2 more. And one of the 2 they added, Krieg, is my personal favorite character in any of the games. He's just so much fun to play, and I love everything he yells while he's going psycho. He's a lot of fun.
I have the shiniest meat bicycle!
And then there's the pre-sequel, which also started with 4 people and added 2 more with DLC. I've never played the Tales version of the Borderlands, but I've watched the summary videos of it and whatnot, but that's just not my really style of game. Maybe one day I'll give it a shot, but probably not. So recently, Gearbox finally finished showing off all the playable characters that will be in the base game of Borderlands 3, and they all look pretty cool. There's Moze the Gunner and her Iron Bear. There's Amara the Siren, Zane the Operative, and FL4K the Beastmaster, who has pets. And the pets, you can pet the pets. Crazy, right? So I'll probably play through Borderlands a few times, but for the first playthrough, it's looking like I want to go with Moze or FL4K, just because I like the way they seem to play. They seem a lot of fun, but you know, that's not going to be determined until September 13th. So I have plenty of time to decide. Do y'all know who you're going to play as? Let me know down below. For today, we're going to be going over all of the skill trees of each playable character and the general playstyle that will be associated with each tree, because each tree can change the core way that you play each of these characters. Now, I want to preface this with me saying I'm by no means an expert or even close to an expert on Borderlands skill trees and the most efficient or overpowered builds. I'm not a theory crafter. That's not really my forte. That's not my strong suit. That's not the path that I go down. I go for the paths that seem like the most fun to me personally, and that's how I've always played. I end up respeccing multiple times throughout my playthroughs to give me something a little different. First character up, we have Moze the Gunner. Like all of the other characters in the game, she has 3 different build paths, which are Shield of Retribution, Bottomless Mags, and Demolition Woman. Based on just those names from the get-go, Demolition Woman sounds like the way to go. Like, who doesn't like explosions?
Explosions!
Each skill tree has a different action skill associated with it, along with various other buffs and character enhancements. Moze is unique from the rest of the characters in the game in that her action skills alter the weapons that can be attached to her Iron Bear mech, which is pretty much her version of an action skill, which are your abilities and what you can do. The Shield of Retribution skill tree allows you to have the railgun, which is like a long-range projectile that shocks enemies, or the Bear Fist. I say or because you can mix and match or double down on the same gun for each hand, essentially. But the Bear Fist is an armored fist that allows you to do a ton of damage up close to people, so you have the long-range railgun and the up-close Bear Fist. Kind of neat. This tree focuses on, and I know this is going to be an absolute surprise to you all, Moze's shield. Crazy, right? The Shield of Retribution skill tree focuses on shields. A lot of the skills focus on giving more shield or helping you recharge your shield faster and then getting bonuses while your shield is active, such as extra gun damage. So it's not as exciting of a tree, but it could have some potential, I'm sure. The next skill tree is the Bottomless Mag skill tree, which allows you to have the minigun and or salamander weapons attached to your Iron Bear, which is a flamethrower. That's pretty cool. This skill tree focuses on allowing you to constantly throw lead at your enemies and roast them to a crisp. There are many skills focused around making sure Moze always has ammo to spew and get a damage boost when she runs low on a magazine. So not only do you have more ammo altogether, your ammo starts doing more damage if you get to the end of your magazine. There's also a focus on this skill tree that increases your incendiary damage on all of your weapons and all of your skills. And last but not least, we have the Demolition skill tree, which allows you to have the V35 grenade launcher and or the Vanquisher rocket pod. The Demolition Woman skill tree is all about making your enemies explode and go boom and destroy them into little bits, which, in case you don't know, Mr. Torg would really love.
Your kind words are appreciated!
The skill tree gives you skills that increase your splash damage and radius, along with ways to make your Iron Bear mech even more deadly, such as turning into a ticking time bomb when you exit it. You're allowed to like jump out and it'll run around for a little while and then it'll run after someone and explode. According to the skill tree, at least. I haven't actually seen that in action. So like I said, according to Gearbox, you can mix and match the weapons between each skill tree, or even equip two of the same weapon. Each action skill can also be augmented and altered to have various different effects, such as giving the Salamander Flamethrower a 3 burst form or giving the Vanquisher Rocket Pod a nuclear warhead. That's what I want, personally. Now, I mentioned that Moze and Flak were the two that seemed most fun to me, so next up we have Flak, who is the Beastmaster. Flak skill trees go by the names of Hunter, Master, and Stalker. Each tree has a certain pet attached to it. Spider Ant goes with Hunter, the Hunter tree, Skag goes with the Master tree, and Jabber goes with the Stalker tree. Now, these pets, they're attached to a specific tree, but you can mix the skills from one tree with a pet from another tree, even though you might not get the most bonuses that you want. The augments for the pets allow them to be upgraded to change their attack styles and to give Flak more stats. Along with the pets attached to each skill tree, there's also an action skill attached to it. There's Rack Attack with the Hunter tree, Gamma Burst with the Master tree, and Fade Away with the Stalker tree. Flak also has these special Hunter skills, which give Flak bonuses when he kills enemies. Now, the first tree is the Hunter skill tree, which has the Rack Attack action skill, and all that really does is allow you to call in Rack, which are the birds, to attack your enemies. They're very rude creatures. The rest of the skill tree focuses on mostly critical hits. Critical hits help you reduce your action skill cooldown or give you extra damage and reload speed, among other things. To me, the coolest skill in this tree is the Megavore skill, which allows you to have a 20% chance no matter where you hit the enemy to crit, like mid-thigh, crit chance. Pinky toe, crit chance. Middle finger, crit chance. Lots of damage. Next on the list is the Master skill tree. The Master skill tree allows you access to the Gamma Burst action skill, which allows you to create a portal or rift sort of thing at a certain location that does radiation damage and hurts people over time. And it gives you the opportunity to send your pet through it, so you essentially get to teleport your pet to the enemy and then tell your pet to attack said enemy. So that's pretty cool. Whenever the pet actually goes through this rift or portal, it becomes irradiated and it does extra damage. Gamma Burst also gives you the ability to instantly revive your pet with 30% HP when the skill is used. This skill tree's focuses on increasing the synergy between Flak and the currently equipped pet, such as sharing damage taken between the two or increasing both of their damage when an enemy is killed. The coolest skill in this tree to me is Dominance, which allows you to whack an enemy and make them fight for you. So you're essentially a mind-controlling warlock.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Now, for Flak, his last skill tree is the Stalker skill tree, which gives you the Fade Away ability, or action skill, I guess is what you should call it. The Fade Away action skill cloaks Flak, turning him invisible and giving his next 3 shots guaranteed crit chance. And there are other bonuses like movement speed and things like that. This skill tree gives Flak the opportunity to gain survivability in the form of extra health, health regeneration, and the ability to reduce the cooldown of Fade Away, which allows you to, reposition and escape easier. This skill, Fade Away, you're also able to make it to where it's not just 3 shots that automatically crit, you can keep on firing for a certain duration, so that could be extremely good against certain enemies and certain bosses. And the last thing with this tree is it allows your pet to revive you when you're down and fighting for your life. So that would be pretty good for solo players, I would imagine. Next up on the list is Amara, which is a siren. She's pretty much a superstar in the world of Borderlands 3. Everyone loves her and knows who she is. She's a crime fighter. She's she's actually famous. And her being a siren means that she has these supernatural powers that allow her to just wreck people. And then she also has 3 skill trees like everyone else, which are Fist of Elements, which has the action skill Phase Grasp. Then there's the Mystical Assault skill tree with action skill Phase Cast. And then the Brawl skill tree with action skill Phase Slam. Amara is able to attach an element to each of her action skills, which make them give them a little more in the back of them. First up, we got the Fist of Elements skill tree, which is a skill tree that focuses on her elemental damage and giving her more opportunities to inflict elemental effects to her enemies and increase her damage output. There's also the ability in this tree to give Amara's bullets the opportunity to ricochet between enemies, which that's probably pretty fun to see even if it's not super great. With this skill tree, you get the Phase Grasp action skill, which this action skill summons a giant fist from the ground and locks an enemy in place, which gives you the opportunity to just pump them full of lead and full of damage and whatever else you have to throw at them. And then as you level her up, she gains the ability to alter this Phase Grasp to do more things, such as slam the ground around the locked enemy, have a fist seek out a new enemy after the first enemy is killed, or linking enemies together so they all take damage instead of just the person that you initially targeted. So that could also be a lot of fun. Up next, we have the Mystical Assault skill tree, which the main components focus on giving Amara bonuses based on her stacks of Rush, which can be acquired by killing enemies or applying status conditions to enemies based on what skills you spec into. With this tree, she has the action skill Phase Cast, which consumes all stacks of Rush that give her a overall stat boost. Like all of her stats can get boosted from Phase Cast. The Phase Cast is also an action skill that shoots forward an astral projection of Amara to damage enemies. So it's a longer range ability. The projection of Amara can be altered to release elemental projectiles or deal extra damage if you're able to, collateral people, line them up. One of the neat skills in this tree is the Remnant skill, which spawns a homing projectile anytime you kill an enemy. This homing projectile will chase out other enemies and do extra damage. And Amara's last skill tree is the Brawl skill tree, which focuses on pummeling, just absolutely pummeling your enemies into a pulp. This is the skill tree for those who love the melee style, which is Brick from Borderlands 1, who I'm currently playing on my other playthrough, and Krieg from Borderlands 2, who I have played in the past, so this seems sort of like my thing. The entire purpose of this tree is to give you stats that will allow you to get in front of the enemy's face and make them wish you were anywhere other than where you are. This skill tree gives Amara increased health, damage reduction, melee damage, movement speed, and a dash melee attack, which can be immediately reset if you kill someone with it. The action skill associated with this tree is Face Slam, which allows Amara to jump into the air and slam enemies on the ground. This knocks them up and CCs them for a brief time, and the skill can be altered to make fists pop out of the ground when the skill is used, or altered to allow Amara to shoot a giant beam before slamming into the ground. Last up on the list, we have the character that had the first sort of revealed trailer, which is Zane the Operative. Now Zane is a tech expert, and this expertise allows him to equip 2 action skills, but this means that he does not have access to his grenades. He has 3 skill trees like everyone else, and they are as follows: the Double Agent with the action skill Digiclone, There's the Hitman tree with the Sentinel action skill, and the Undercover tree, which has the Barrier action skill. Zane is also able to use 2 augments on each action skill compared to the normal 1 augment for the other classes and other playable characters. Now the first tree we have is the Double Agent skill tree, which features the Digiclone action skill and allows Zane to throw out a digital version of himself to distract enemies, and the Digiclone can also fire at the enemies. Zane is also able to make the clone and himself switch places at any point and get bonuses whenever he does it. So that's pretty neat. This skill tree focuses on empowering Zane and his Digiclone if he has more than 1 action skill equipped, such as consuming grenades when the clone is spawned to give it more gun damage, health, and spawn duration, or having the clone throw a grenade as soon as it spawns. So this gives your grenades a use even though you can't directly use them. Also with this skill tree, you're able to have a chance to completely ignore bullets that are shot at you. So you just act like they're not there. And you can give your clone access to use the same exact weapon that you're using. So whenever you get the higher tiered guns, that could be really, really, really powerful. Deception and Damage is the name of the game with the Double Agent skill tree. Up next is the Hitman skill tree, which features the Sentinel action skill, which is a flying drone that hunts enemies and guns them down. The Hitman skill tree's main focus is on kill skills that give you significant bonuses anytime you or your drone kills an enemy. You can also get bonuses like lifesteal, increased fire rate, or giving your guns the chance to fire extra projectiles with each shot. So instead of shooting 1 bullet each time, it shoots 2 bullets. That essentially doubles your damage if you're able to consistently get the extra projectiles. There's also a really cool skill at the end of the skill tree, which is called Cyan Red, which activates all of your kill skills anytime you activate one of your action skills. And since you have 2 action skills, you can activate it pretty consistently. You'll really be seeing red with all the dead psychos around you. Now with this tree, you can also augment your Sentinel drone to do things like fire rockets along with the machine gun that it already has. Now the last skill tree to cover is Zane's Undercover tree, which has the Barrier action skill. I bet you can't guess what the Barrier action skill does. In case you can't guess, I'll tell you. It is a shield that can be deployed that blocks projectiles from enemies. The Barrier allows you and your teammates to also shoot through it to gain increased damage. So it you shoot through the shield and your bullets do 25% more damage or something like that. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. Also with this Barrier, you can pick it up. This makes the Barrier smaller and allows you to carry it around with you, so you don't have to just sit in one spot, which could, be pretty cool. The Undercover tree helps to keep Zane's shield up and running and gives him extra bonuses based on his shield. So the skills will help you stay alive and help your shield from depleting. Also in this tree, you'll be able to increase your elemental resistances and increase the amount of elemental damage Zane is able to unleash on his enemies, with the focus mainly on cryo damage from what I saw. Now the Barrier can be upgraded to have the same effect as Zane's shield mod, so once again, higher tier shields could be really useful, like extra novas going off, things like that. You can turn the shield into a dome, or you can shock enemies that get too close to it, so you essentially have like a force field between you and your enemies. But as you can see, there's a huge variety and the styles of play among all the characters in Borderlands 3. You can play it how you want. And this isn't even including the almost guaranteed DLC characters that will be coming. Hopefully there's more than 2 this time, because I really like having multiple styles to play. But I can't wait to jump into this game and get to playing with one of these unique characters and try to master that character before I move on to the others. Like I said, this game comes out September 13th, and I cannot wait to play Borderlands 3. So guys, let's make some mayhem.